from the mall. You see the monument behind him. What are you learning?
Yeah, Connell, can you hear me? Just making sure my microphone is working here. We might have had an issue. Can you hear me?
Absolutely, hear you perfectly. What are you learning?
Awesome. Okay, so we have learned that right now you've got members of Congress, Republicans in the House, that are doing this phone call concerned about security for members. This is directly related to what happened in Minnesota and the assassinations of those two state-level lawmakers. We are told that on this call, you've obviously got your leadership, you've got members, rank and file, who are asking questions like whether they can get security at their homes, not when they're in Washington, but rather when they're in their home districts. This has obviously sparked something here that is legitimate fear for members. If you are a member of Congress and you see what happened in Minnesota today, that has shaken people, clearly. So we've confirmed that several members have raised this issue. We know that Congressman Tim Burchett, Republican from Tennessee, who is very familiar to many of our NewsNation audiences, he's on the show often and we talk to him a lot, specifically was raising these concerns, asking these questions about what kind of security they can get. Connell, look, that has come up a lot because over the last few years, we've talked to Capitol Police about this. The threats that members of Congress get, the phone calls to their offices, messages on social media have increased significantly. And there are a couple of very high-profile members, I'm not going to name them, but Democrats and Republicans who actually do now get extra security when they're at home. It's not everybody, but it's the select few that get the highest number of threats. So what Republicans are now asking is potentially whether more members can sort of be included in that. The complication here is that costs a lot of money. Every member of Congress has a specific allocation of money that they can use for their personal office, for travel, for their home office in their district. That's taxpayer money. Not everybody gets an increased amount for security specifically. It's been asked and asked over and over again. But again, those only go to a select few. So that is the concern. And it just is striking, Connell, that we are even in this place at all. Mind you, as I'm talking to you right now in this parade here on Capitol Mall, we are surrounded by Secret Service, by military, by DC Metro Police. You can actually, I mean, as I'm talking to you over my shoulder, we see snipers on the roof of the African American Museum here that have eyes on this, right? So security is the word of the day here, especially because of what happened in Minnesota. But it is not just regular folks walking around here thinking about this. It is not just the White House and President Trump. Clearly now, you've got members of Congress, 435 House members, that are raising these concerns and asking what their options are. And frankly, it's a scary place to be right now.
I would imagine. I mean, imagine. So, Joe, here's the thing. I have one question for you, okay? So stay with us. And I want to pass on some information. And then for the control room, here's what we're going to do next. After that, get some boxes up. We're going to get Joe on with Mick Mulvaney, former member of Congress, who's set to join us. Don't bring Mick in yet. Joe, first of all, information. FBI's just put this out, offering a reward up to $50 grand for info leading to the apprehension or any information about this guy, Vance Bolter, Minnesota. The question for you I have before we go to Mick, is anything changing for tonight? I know they're having the call. Anything changing tonight?
You know, there's nothing that we have seen here or that we have heard specifically, and we have asked. I'm not sure. There hasn't been anything that is noticeably different about now. There's a ton of security, as we mentioned, but that was always going to be the plan. That is the reality here, that anytime you got the president here that is, you know, within earshot of you, of a big, massive crowd, you'd expect the heightened level of security that we have all over D.C. and around here. So I'm not sure that there has been anything directly relating to Minnesota that has changed this level of security. You know, we have heard that there had been some outside protests, specifically those in Minnesota, but I'm not sure if this event here, which is a massive security event, has had any alterations as a result of
okay, fair. Joe, if you can, stay with us, and we may come back to you as Mick joins us now. You guys know Mick's the NewsNation political contributor, former White House chief of staff, as I said, also a former member of the United States Congress and the House of Representatives. So I guess this is not surprising that these conversations, given the tragedy in Minnesota, would be happening, and the high-profile events members are always involved in, including possibly tonight at the parade. Your thoughts, Mick?
Yeah, a couple different thoughts. First of all, this is really worrisome to members of Congress. Let's talk about them for a second, but I want to go beyond that because look, I'd answer the door right now if somebody looked like a cop. So would you? I mean, if that's the level to which folks are willing to go at this point, that is really disturbing. And you're right. Members of Congress get a modicum of security when they're in Washington, D.C., but the overwhelming majority of them get none when they're back home. Their addresses are well known. They're out in public. I was a freshman member of Congress when Gabby Giffords got shot at a public event in her district. So this risk is always there. But it's this targeting by somebody who's dressing up like law enforcement that I think has really got people shaking their heads. But let's go one step deeper. This was not a member of Congress. When you run for Congress, you sign up for a certain level of this stuff, right? You just sort of know you're going to be in the public sphere. You know your face is going to be on TV. You know you're going to run the risk of wackos come try and chase you down and so forth. This was a state legislator, two of them. In a lot of states, I'm not familiar with how Minnesota works, but in my state, that's a part-time job. We have citizen legislators. They work for a couple months a year, maybe a couple days a week. And then they go back and do their ordinary job in their communities. So for those folks to be targeted, you and I and Joe are talking about, because we live and work in Washington, D.C., about members of Congress. I'm worried now about the state lawmakers, and there are thousands of them. Go down to the next level about local people on school boards and so forth. What is this a one-off? Is this a lone wolf, or is this, number one, part of a conspiracy? I don't think there's any evidence to that yet. But is it the first step of a trend? Are there going to be copycats going, oh, look, I didn't like the way that person voted. I'm going to hunt them down and shoot them. That is what I think a lot of folks are asking themselves tonight. And that's a real tough conversation to be having.
Yeah, this guy apparently did have a list that did include federal officials. I mean, Joe, what would you add to Mick's point there in terms of, because you spend all your time, almost all of it, on Capitol Hill reporting, and maybe you could go through some of the security measures and how they differ for certain members of Congress at different levels. We know the Speaker of the House, for example, or leadership versus maybe a freshman member of Congress, as Mick talked about.
Yeah, I mean, it's actually pretty amazing. I think people who are not in Washington, not in the Capitol, may have this idea that if you're elected to Congress, like Mick was, if you have a pin on your lapel, then you are protected. You have all of this security. In the building itself, the Capitol building, that is a very secure place. But once you go into your office buildings, which is where, frankly, a lot of members spend most of their time, a lot of those areas are public, number one. And when you go back to your home districts, just because you're a member of Congress, even if you're the chairman or chairwoman of a high-profile committee, that does not necessarily mean that you're walking around with security. In fact, usually it's the opposite. Usually you're walking around with a staff member, and that is it. When I talk about there are some members that have had extra security, the Capitol Police has developed a different strategy now, because what I've been told is that the level of threats coming into certain members' offices is really high, significantly higher than what it was 5 years ago, 6 years ago. And again, I sort of hesitate to say specific members' names. You can probably just guess. The people who you see on TV a lot, the people who have very high member followings on social media, those are the offices, and frankly, it's both sides of the aisle, that get a lot of the calls that people consider legitimately threatening. And what I've been told is sometimes they're just nonsense, but sometimes those calls include addresses or family members' names. And when it gets to that level, then U.S. Capitol Police has a vested interest in making sure those folks, when they go back to their home districts, do have some level of security. But I've heard members complain about this. Members that are relatively high profile say they want more, that they don't necessarily feel secure in their home offices. And certainly a day like today is going to only exacerbate that.
But what about, Mick, in the home states of those state legislators that you talked about, right? Where do we want to be in this country, right? Because you think about it, back in 1963, the President of the United States riding around in an open-top car, right? And even 1981 with President Reagan, there was more access than there is now. That's the presidential level. Can we ever get to a point realistically where we're locking down, or do we want to get to a point where we're locking down the people who represented us in our local government? I mean, come on.
I don't think we want to get there. I mean, look at it this way. I mean, if you're going to have a properly functioning representative government, the folks who are elected need to live with their constituents. I mean, I just got back from the swimming pool, right? I went to go exercise at the local YMCA. Is that something you want a lawmaker to stop doing? You talk to 8 or 9 people. You go to the grocery store. You go to church. Look, I didn't even have security when I was in the cabinet. As the office director of the Office of Management Budget, I didn't have any security. Security is not what we do here. Yes, you get it with the president. Yes, Hollywood tends to exaggerate. Joe's right. there's this sort of perception that if you're a member of Congress, that somehow you have this Secret Service around you all the time. Nothing could be further from the truth. Is it going to change? Look, it might have to. That's a dramatic change in lifestyle, dramatic change in cost structure, and a dramatic change, more importantly, I think, than all of that, in the people who are willing to offer themselves for office. You know, there's going to be more and more people throw their hands up and say, you know what, this is not worth it. I'm going home. And that is the real tragedy here in the long term. Listen, it's a tragedy. I don't want to minimize what happened today. But if you look 20 years down the road and nobody wants to run for office because they're afraid for their families and afraid for their own safety, that's an existential threat to our form of government.
100%. Mick, thank you. Joe, we're back to you for new reporting as we continue our live coverage from here in